Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening on this very sad day in American history. And good evening. All right. Sad day in American history here as the Atlanta Hawks have canceled Magic City Night against the Magic. I think at some point this week. Major breaking news here. Now, well, the Hawks haven't. It said the press release said the NBA has canceled Magic City Night in Atlanta between the Hawks and the Magic. We have an official statement just a couple of minutes ago from the Hawks themselves. That reads, those of you just missed it, I retweeted it right before we went live. While we are very disappointed in the NBA's decision to cancel our Magic City Night promotion, we fully respect its decision. As a franchise, we remain committed to celebrating the best of Atlanta with authenticity in ways that continue to unite and bring us all together. Furthermore, we have some explanation on what's going to happen to all of the festivities and products, what to expect at the game. Legendary rapper and King of the South, T.I. will perform at halftime as scheduled. The limited edition peach tree themed hoodie will no longer be available for purchase at the game on March 16th. All pre-ordered merchandise will be honored and delivered as previously scheduled. So that at least is a major development. So the Hawks, because I went to the website and they had taken down, because this sweatshirt was so in demand, they provided a pre-sale opportunity where you could buy the shirt through the team store. And I did have a couple of people reach out in response to my tweet and say that they should still be receiving their order despite the night not moving forward. There was fear, at least in my mind, because the NBA is trying to limit the exposure of Magic City now, that they might cancel these orders and refund the customer. And it makes these sweatshirts even more valuable because I imagine they plan to print and give away thousands of these things before tip-off against the Magic. Well, at least the people that bought them in advance, it sounds like, and you are now going to be in possession of an NBA relic. This is a relic now that it's not going out to all of the fans in attendance anymore. You own something that only probably hundreds of people on the planet do, and the demand is through the roof. You own a limited edition set of off-white shoes right now. And because they were getting ready to give these away at the game, I would have to think a warehouse or storage facility of some kind has all of the boxes prepared to give away in just a week's time on March 16th. Could we have a Lufthansa heist from the movie Goodfellas? Can someone locate these things? Because you have to imagine people will pay up to $1,000 a pop for them now. Magic City themselves is probably throwing cash at them to try and acquire them. Furthermore, the live recording of the Hawks AF podcast, including Hawks principal owner, filmmaker, and actor Jamie Gertz, T.I., and Magic City founder Michael Mr. Magic Barney, has been canceled. Mr. Magic standing on business. Fans who purchase tickets to the recording will be contacted directly. However, the full array of award-winning culinary options available at State Farm Arena for Hawks games will be available, including wings. But it does not say that the lemon pepper wings from Magic City specifically will also be made available. Will Magic City be depriving the fans in attendance of their special lemon peppers, and they have to resort to the, it's not State Farm Arena version? An injustice has been done today. What's happening, chat? Busy chat. I got Sims, Helwick, Danny, Doug. What's up, Andrew? Stony, all the regulars here in the chat. Yes, the NBA has canceled Magic City Night, which is just hilarious, by the way. Because now, this is honestly the best thing to happen to Magic City. Magic City is an Atlanta staple. Everyone in the city knows about Magic City. But now that this has been in the news for so many days, I'd have to think people in other parts of the country and worldwide, what is all this commotion about Magic City? Let me learn more. The amount of exposure and free marketing and people standing up for it. This is the best case scenario for them. Because now everyone's going to want to spite the NBA for standing on their moral high ground once again. You know what? I'm going to support Magic City. They did nothing wrong. They provide employment opportunities to the night ballerinas of Georgia. What have they done wrong? They pay their taxes. And because Luke Cornett, when I think of someone who is the complete opposite of what Atlanta represents, it's probably Luke Cornett. That Luke Cornett decided to pen a blog of all things to have influence and impact in the year 2026. The blog is at the bottom. Blogging is an endangered species, but he writes a blog calling out the partnership between Magic City and the Hawks because of it not representing the values of the NBA and all of its players. It represents something that we don't stand for. If there is any business, any professional sports league in America, in the world, that fears being canceled more than the NBA, I will wait to hear about it. This league reacts to the extreme when it comes to hyperbole and reactions from its fans. They got bullied so bad by Twitter during the finals that they downloaded a PNG of a Larry O'Brien trophy and transposed it onto the court. They didn't paint it. They didn't put a decal. They uploaded a PNG and presented it. And it was so shitty that the layers were so wrong that anytime that fan with the OKC flag was waving it, the trophy would pop in front of the flag and not on the court. It was completely untested, but because there was no tradition, pomp and circumstance, or pageantry to the finals, the NBA makes this rash decision to change things on the fly and somehow makes it worse. Well, you've done it again. This is not going away. You think just by getting the Hawks to cancel Magic City that now everyone's going to forget about it? Magic City will be remembered for eternity because of this. Now everyone's going to Google, what is Magic City? Why is everyone talking about Magic City? ChatGPT, that's going to start cooking the algorithm. Magic City right now on the right side of your screen, if I scroll down a little bit, I can't move hold on, let me move my box over here. Look, it's Magic City's trending. Good job. Good job. Well, if the strategy here was to get people to stop caring about a previous controversy by creating a new one, that's Politics 101. That's Ray Donovan 101. That's Crisis Management 101. You want to get fans to stop talking about tanking and off the court gambling scandals? Give them a Magic City scandal, something that's a lot more harmless. That's an oxymoron. Something that's harmless. This fucking the NBA, man. They will broadcast games on a sportsbook network. But if the check is big enough, that was Magic City's biggest problem here, by the way. They probably showed up and paid for this promotion in cash. Why wouldn't they? They're a strip club. They showed up and wanted to pay the NBA in all singles, and they said, enough of this. The juice is not worth the squeeze. But if you're a sports book and you're showing up with billions, what is ethical? What is moral? And what is not? How the NBA continues to pick and choose, it just gets me so inspired to make something a bigger deal than it ever should have been. The way that they react, the way that if they get bullied hard enough, you can make the NBA do anything you want. If you get enough people in your corner, if a topic on NBA Reddit ascends to the front page, they will do whatever the consensus reaction or solution is just to not be canceled. How many times have they done this? And whether they support your politics or not, they have always been at the forefront of including it into their product. So many examples of it. This is ridiculous. And I was a little late starting this show today because, well, first of all, shout out to get my partners at ProfitX some exposure here. NBA is going to make money off of it. We might as well too. All of those Grizzlies players are out tonight, by the way. Brooklyn Nets. Can you believe the Brooklyn Nets? Wait, they're not favored. How are the Grizzlies ProfitX? How are the Grizzlies minus 2.5 but plus 105 on the money line? That makes no sense, but have at it. What was I saying? Oh, I was a little late getting the show going today because if there's one organization that I know a shit ton of people at, it's the Hawks. I'm talking front office, behind the scenes, PR, comms teams, as well as the very top. And I've already placed sent multiple messages that I not only need one of these sweatshirts, but I need to know what's going to happen to the lot. Are you going to be selling these things? Are you going to be redistributing them? Are you going to give them straight to Magic City? Will you work with Magic City again? Now you've made a story out of this. To the Hawks' credit, as you saw just as we went live here, they had no ambition to get rid of this night. In fact, they even stated previously publicly that they had no consideration of removing the night despite all of the backlash. The Hawks said, we're moving forward. We're doing Magic City night. Now it's, by the way, if you guys are on, now Magic City's the number one trend. It went from the bottom to the top. Good job. So I'd like to know what's going to happen to the sweatshirts. That sweatshirt will be more popular at Lollapalooza than a Dream Team Charles Barkley Team USA throwback. Dan Marley on the Phoenix Suns. If you have an authentic Thunder Dan Marley jersey, you're instantly getting laid in the fields of Chicago. That has now been all superseded by Magic City in these sweatshirts. There's only so many to go around. And if you've got one, you hold power. And thank you. Danny in the chat, Danny Dahl says ATL will always back Magic City. Of course they will, as they should. Tax-paying, legitimate establishment that embodies their culture and their community to near perfection, if you ask the citizens that live down there in that part of the world. They do nothing wrong. I don't think parents are sending their kids to Magic City day camp. But for people that are interested in that form of entertainment, which can be either dinner alone, or a show, dinner and a show, what's the difference between Magic City and a Moulin Rouge that occurs at Delilah here in West Hollywood, California? Not a whole lot. But because Magic City has this reputation, and it was all, none of this would have happened unless Luke Cornett, who is now the main character, Luke Cornett made such a mess of this that even on my radio show on Sirius XM with a former NBA Coach of the Year and a longtime veteran in Sam Mitchell, as well as my full-time partner, Antonio Daniels. We're both, as soon as this Luke Cornett diatribe is published, they both were like, no, I'm team Luke Cornett on this one. They're entitled to their opinions. They both do not like Magic City Night in Atlanta for their own separate, and they're entitled to that once again. But Luke Cornett gave them a vehicle. That blog post turned into a muse for people to project how they feel about this particular topic. And because the NBA is focusing on basketball for the first time in a long time, they are trying to limit these off-the-court distractions. Has there ever been a Hooters night? Has there ever been a Hooters night in the NBA? Someone go look it up. Hellwick, I know you're in here. Hell Wikipedia. Hellwick GPT. Has there ever been a Hooters sponsored night in the NBA? All of these local deals that you see on your regional sports networks, where the Cleveland Cavaliers have that law firm that has that commercial. Some of these places have used car salesmen up there. All of these local establishments that resonate with the people of the city. You're telling me that not one of these is in this same perceived category as Magic City, a controversial establishment. They all get a pass, but Magic City is where we draw the line. Berdendorf says there used to be Hooters in NBA stadiums. Because if you let Hooters sponsor an NBA game, what's the difference between Hooters and Magic City? Don't tell me that the clothes are on, because technically they have some clothes on. They're wearing a G-string in Magic City. If anything, Hooters is more detrimental because they're still wearing clothes. At least you get some closure in Magic City. I could go on forever. I also looked it up. I was praying to God that the San Antonio Spurs still had a game to play in Atlanta so that Luke Cornett would have been load managed 110% for this one. Watching Luke Cornett go out there and get the amount of boos would have rivaled LeBron James returning to Cleveland after the decision for you to have our precious Magic City night taken away from us because you're on some moral high ground about the values it represents that you likely have no clue about. None. Luke Cornett, you better show me receipts from a sample size of 50 visits to Magic City. Otherwise, why are you speaking on this particular topic? You can keep your shit private. You can feel a certain way. I wouldn't let my kids go to Magic City. Great. God bless you. You're allowed to do whatever you want. But his actions now have affected someone other than himself. So now it is other people's business because you got into it. No, this is not even close to being a top 10 NBA Twitter day ever. Those days are gone. NBA Twitter is too fragmented now. This is top 10 Twitter days are secret tunnel, DeAndre Jordan kidnapping, things like that. Free agency, tracking LeBron's plane, crying Jordan. Oh, yeah, don't even get me started. The moral high ground of the Players Association on this, when there's players that are in court for much more serious violations than showing a pair of titties. What some of those players did with the pair of titties probably is a bigger issue. Give me a break on this. Why does the NBA do it to itself? Why do they do this to themselves? Right? You know what? Normally, I would recognize someone that's trolling in the chat. But no, you know what? You have justification for it today. Someone in the chat said, so strip club's bad, but being co-workers in the Players Association with domestic abusers is A-okay to Luke Cornett. Now, Luke, unfortunately, by you diving into this, you now open yourself up to, well, you spoke on this, but you didn't speak on this. And does your silence suggest that you actually support them and you don't want to be canceled? People are now going to ask those questions, and around we go. This was so unnecessary. It is something that's fun. And whether or not you yourself would go to Magic City, how can you justify canceling a promoted night when they haven't done anything wrong? Because if they did, they wouldn't be standing with their doors open in Atlanta. This isn't a sex trafficking prostitution ring. If you stand against this, you stand against half of Las Vegas and the entire city of Tampa, Florida. Do you want that? The entire economy is built off of tits and ass. Who's complaining about this? Besides Luke Cornett. Even the people against it weren't complaining. But your actions have words, especially as an NBA player. And when Al Horford supports it and it starts gaining steam, here we go. Now it's a thing. I am flabbergasted that a business that claims to stand for so much with their words backs it up with action that is so little. Have I ever sat here? Have you ever heard me say in these streams that the NBA is out of pocket for partnering with sports books? No! I do it too. We all got bills to pay. And oh, by the way, no, I do not think that gambling is a problem. I think it's a skill issue. You wouldn't just buy random ass stocks in the stock market, but that's not gambling. Why doesn't that have the perception of gambling? You're investing your money in a business as opposed to the result of a product of a sport. You don't see me sitting on my throne critiquing all of that shit. People that dump their money into meme coins and crypto, the same shit to me as people that decide to gamble on sports or gamble on the stock market. Skill issue. You should be making, this is one of the very few last true democracies and capitalistic environments on the planet today. Go out and make your money until future politics and economies change. Go out there and make your money. And then worry about the ethics later. There can be very few professions, unless you are exploiting something that is illegal, very few ways for me to like stand on a high horse and say, you know what, that's an unethical way to earn income. I wouldn't recommend someone going out there and selling fentanyl to people. Like that's a problem. And the NBA has partnerships with controversial companies. So why is it that this one, that I'd consider the least controversial of all, ends up being the victim? And now that it's the victim, it's going to be celebrated. And I want to know I demand to know where those sweatshirts are that have been printed and prepared to distribute for the game. You need to take care of this shit well in advance when it comes to promotions. Most of this shit is usually done before the year starts, but because this one popped up out of nowhere and they made a night out of it, I would have to think with a week to go before the game that those sweatshirts have been printed and ready to be distributed. Who gets those things? The NBA does not deserve to hold on to them. They will, but they don't deserve to. Thank you for letting me speak my piece on this ridiculousness that has transpired. This is ridiculous. Now, maybe that was the goal the whole time. We got this problem over here, but all the little NBA fans are dogs in the yard that are jumping up and down and want you to throw the tennis ball. Oh, you want the ball? You want the ball? As I put what I really don't want to throw the dog into my pocket. You want this ball? You want this ball? Okay, go get it. And then the dog runs. And now we're running with Magic City instead of something that Kawhi Leonard investigation. Oh, let's get rid of titties. Well, don't even get me started. What rhymes with titties? That's Kawhi Leonard is affiliated. Kitties. There's nothing involved. Aspiration in kitties. Anyway. Did I say anything out of that wasn't what some of y'all are probably feeling too, how ridiculous this is? Sorry, that was a lot of yapping. 28 minutes of yapping. Chat, now's your time. I'm going to read your questions. If you have any questions, anything about what's going on tonight in the NBA as well, shout out to our partners at ProfitX. Where we are a welcoming and equal opportunity content platform. There's such a difference also in the way that the shit is presented. Like there was nothing forcing you to go to the Magic City game. You live in Atlanta, you don't have to go to Magic City. Also, if you don't like sports gambling, you don't have to do it. I'm simply sitting here telling you, if it's something that interests you and you think you have an edge, check out our partners at ProfitX because we think they have the best platform to do it. I'm not sitting here guaranteeing you're going to be rich. There's plenty of people out there that are doing that. That's unethical. There's ways to present pretty much anything if done properly, not putting on this facade. Why is it that every time the NBA gets involved in some off-the-court controversy or movement, it feels so inauthentic? Because they just pick and choose based on the highest paying customer every time. Aspiration. That's what this scandal should be called. Aspiration. That's funny. Knicks Clippers tonight. I guess we're getting back to basketball. Knicks Clippers tonight. Asked Danny, who's going to win? The Knicks are going to win. Even though being in the building yesterday, we had so many chances to come back in that game. It's so frustrating when a ball rattles in and rattles out like 9 times in a row. Because that's what happened yesterday. Variance was on full display. So I'm not mad about the final result. I thought the Knicks played well during their comeback. What I'm more frustrated with is I actually got to sit right in front of Mike Brown and ask him, why is it so important to get Karl-Anthony Towns going early in a game? And do you consider it a priority? And his answer was, Karl-Anthony Towns is one of our guys. Like the rest of them, they all contribute to one final performance and product. It was a very professional way of him saying, we're not treating him any different. And that's where I beg to differ. Because in the first 6 minutes of the first quarter, there is a proven track record that everything changes when Karl-Anthony Towns gets going early. The way that Jalen Brunson is able to start working off of Cat's gravity, and he doesn't have to go 1-on-2, 1-on-3, and hit some impossible shots all the time. When that defensive side of the floor starts tilting towards Cat and not Brunson, there's so much more space for him to operate, and he's so much more efficient and lethal. But Cat has had some sluggish starts recently. When he's not involved and engaged, he starts committing stupid fouls. His drop coverage and foot speed suffers. And you can tell there's a little indifferent, apathetic, and borderline lackadaisical effort that's given compared to what he's capable of. It's as if he knows, well, coach isn't drawing shit up for me, so I'll just kind of be catch and shoot for a little while until they really need me. The Knicks had 3 games where they drew up the first play for Karl-Anthony Towns. It was against the Bucks, the Bulls, and the Cavs. And every single one of those times, like, he gets going early, his shot efficiency goes up, and then Brunson's does as well. They have a commensalism, symbiotic relationship, but it does require Cat to go first because Brunson will be there regardless. Brunson doesn't need to get going early. That's not a priority. Cat, on the other hand, yes. Is Jamal in? Oh, I didn't know that. Is that news? Jamal Murray is back after that nasty ankle injury? That was quite the sprain he suffered against the Knicks. I'm stunned to see him come back. He is one tough dude, man. They're going to need him tonight as we enter round 3 of the hip-checking saga. The hip-check revenge game against Oklahoma City and Lou Dort. Jamal Murray, I've been told by the chat, is a go. I was too busy yapping, so I probably missed that update. Jamal Murray, 24.5 points at ProfitX. That's a lot of points, man. With a guy on a bum ankle against this defense in a game that they will most certainly be trying, that feels like an under at minus, well, 196 is a lot, but you could probably name your terms at 23.5. I'd be leaning Jamal Murray under myself. You know, I only like to take unders before tip-off. Jay Peasy says he felt way better yesterday, and he said he's more than likely playing tonight. All right. Any other questions? John in the chat asks, Wob, if the young guards for the Spurs start getting the SGA whistle, are we in an Oppenheimer situation we can't come back from? Yeah, Antonio this morning made me realize something that's true. If Victor Wembanyama takes the Spurs to the finals, meaning they beat Oklahoma City, if he goes on one of those playoff runs, I think he is going to take over as the best player in the world. That reputation, that accolade from Nikola Jokic. He's getting closer and closer by the day. I mean, he is just so, what else? I mean, I don't know what else to say anymore that hasn't already been said. The way that he influences a game on the defensive side is noticeably different than anyone else with his mere presence. The fact that he can dribble the way that he does, he's got point guard dribbling skills. He can shoot the three with the best of them, contested off the dribble, not even just a catch and shoot guy in the corner. He pulls up from the fucking logo. Everything's unobstructed because he's 7'5", and no one can disrupt his view of the rim. He can shoot middies. He can shoot threes. He dunks. He shoots free throws well. He is a Frankenstein of every quality that makes for a great NBA player. You know how you have too many sliders up when you're creating a player and you make him like 7'3", 7'4", and he's got 99 in every category. You just want to dominate for a couple of games. Like, he's that in real life, man. He's the most talented basketball player I've ever seen, period. I qualify that because of his size. He's the most talented basketball player I have ever seen. No one that big should be able to move like that, nor make it look that easy. And he does. He is the patch update version of Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant, of course, has championships under his belt, MVPs. I'm not saying Victor Wembanyama's had a better career than Kevin Durant. What I'm saying is everything that makes Kevin Durant great is inside of this man's body, and he's 7'5". If he stays healthy, I do imagine he will be in 20, 25 years down the road. We'll be talking about him as one of, if not the greatest of all time. Now, wait a second. Hold on. I've got a raven in front of me who's got a, thank God. Okay, that was almost bad news. It's mating season, and a crow just landed on the tree in front of my bedroom with a stick in its mouth. You know why that's bad? Means he's nesting. I don't want him building a damn nest in front of my window again, because it happened 2 years ago. And chirp, 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 and those things hatch. Chirp, 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 all morning. Thank God he went to another tree. Don't be nesting up there. I have run out of superlatives for Victor Wembanyama. Yes. I am planting my flag on that hypothesis. He is the most talented basketball player of all time. And previous to that, who do you guys think is most talented basketball player of all time? Because you could argue Steph. You could say Steph, LeBron, Shaq. But, I mean, Shaq couldn't shoot like Wemby. If you have ever seen Shaq in person, that's another example of no one should ever be that athletic at that size. You cannot be that athletic. It's not possible. But Shaq was for like 15 years. Most physically dominating player the game has ever seen. LeBron. But guys with like killer mentalities like Kobe and Jordan, do you equate that to talent? I guess, because mentals is part of the game as well. I just think of pure talent. I think of like a Steph's shooting ability. I think of Kyrie's handles and finishing at the rim. I think of LeBron and Magic Johnson being point forwards. Dirk Nowitzki, 7. Yeah, I was incredibly talented, but not the most talented. I want to know where those sweatshirts are. I will find out. I only care about, I only care about the little things in the NBA. I love these little making a story out of nothing. For example, when Kyrie Irving during COVID went to New Jersey and had that party, I was obsessed with putting the pieces together on how this all happened. Did a party actually happen? Was he breaking COVID protocols? We had nothing else to do. What else have I done in the past? All these WAD investigations are always on these C-tier storylines in the NBA. Oh, my favorite one was when a ball boy, a towel boy, got a technical foul between the Pelicans and the Knicks 2 years ago. That may have been a preseason game. Investigating how a towel boy was found guilty of delay of game and how he was instructed by the bench to go out there and do it for them. That, to me, matters more than breaking down why the Thunder won Game 7 against the Pacers. I'm into that investigative stuff. You better believe I'm already helping Pablo find out about this Hawk shit too. Andy's in the house in the chat, asks, who do I think is winning the championship? I will take Oklahoma City. I think it's going to require 7 games against San Antonio. So I think it's going to take 7 games and I think OKC is going to be down 3-1 in that series. And they're going to come back. 7 games. Thunder beat the Spurs after being down 3-1. They win Game 5 at home. They steal Game 6 because Shea does something ridiculous. And then their Game 7 experience gets them to the finish line. I think that's how the Western Conference Finals is going to end. OKC in 7 after going down 3-1. You know what OKC has done, by the way, that doesn't get enough recognition, but we discuss it often? Their ability to train the referees on a nightly basis. And this is something that happens and is noticed by former players and coaches. Jackson, Shea goes 25-27 on free throws in Game 7. Yeah, it's going to be one of those, like Shea is getting a favorable whistle in a conference finals that's being officiated by Tony Brothers, Ed Malloy, Zach Zarba. They usually put those whistles away, but it will be Shea getting to the free throw line. And that is such an easier difficulty type of shot than what someone like the Spurs or in the past the Nuggets, those impossible Jamal Murray heaves at the shot clock end, or Jokic doing a samba or shuffle out of the coffin corner. How many of those have to go in to beat OKC, man? Because OKC is getting layups off fly ball turnovers, and they're getting free throws. That's what they do. And they're getting wide open Isaiah Joe threes because of Shea's dribble penetration. The quality of look. Oh, Keontae George is playing for the Jazz tonight. That's a shocker. I thought he was going to sit. Keontae George in. Some other guys are potentially out. 24.5 is your over-under at ProfitX for Keontae George points. I would lean under there. I'm always on unders if someone's questionable. What was I saying? Oh. OKC, how they're able to train referees. Because Sam Mitchell told me this. And Antonio has also agreed. So Sam Mitchell, who played for the Pacers on those 90s teams against the Knicks when it was 8 points in 9 seconds, when it was Rick Smits, Reggie Miller, the Davis brothers against Ewing, Starks, and Oakley, and Pat Riley. Sam Mitchell tells me on air all the time, he's like, Rob, we were so much more skilled than the Knicks were, and they knew it too. But they also understood, and the reason why they didn't beat them in 94, and honestly a lot of those years with the exception of 95, was that Pat Riley was able to train the officials in the first quarter with the significantly different physicality that his defense played with, so that referees are going to get used to it, and they don't want to blow their whistle for 3.5 straight hours, ruling a foul on everything. So after you've committed 4 or 5 in the first 6 minutes, all of those grabs and hand checks and ways that you plow over a off-ball screener, they are permitted, because honestly, that was a little less than what you were considered in violation of prior to. And OKC today is running with that same type of mentality that Lou Dort knows. Go ahead and give me 2 quick early fouls. Go ahead, because I know you're not blowing the whistle after you give me those 2. That essentially is a warning. But you will not continue that same, you will not have that same consistency with 50-50 calls based around physicality when we are so good at displaying effort, efficiency, and skill for a majority of the game, that it's going to feel like that effort will sway you to the side of permitting the game flow to continue in a moment of 50-50 where Lou Dort or Cason Wallace reaches in. Was that a foul? It was previously, but we're going to let this one go. And that's what OKC does. By the time you get to the end of the game, they're playing football out there. And no referee wants to become the main character because they were micromanaging the rule book. No referee does. They're going to let all that bullshit go. I can also speak to what I witnessed at Crypto.com Arena yesterday. I was sitting 10 feet in front of that sequence where Karl Anthony Towns, per the box score, blocked or stripped Jackson Hayes, and the Knicks let out to a 3-pointer that got them back within single digits. JJ Redick called a timeout, and you could hear the entire arena erupt in what the fuck. You could hear the smack, the replay. He grabbed his entire arm all the way down to the hand, not even close to being a block. But because the referees didn't rule it a foul, it is what it is. How many times during an NBA game do players get away with something like that? The answer is often. And the answer is often because, once again, refs don't want to blow the whistle more than any point where it is egregious. Only the newer referees are going out there and blowing the whistle every 15 seconds because they are being judged and also critiqued by the Referee Association, namely Monty McCutcheon and, in the past, Joey Crawford. I have seen them at Summer League. They sit there with a clipboard and they have all of these little notes they write down for prospective NBA officials. That's where they're trying out. That's where they're being judged. And if they miss a call, they get a little tick. Miss this one, miss this one, miss this one. Referees don't want to miss those if they want to be employed by the NBA. Become a full-time referee. If you have tenure, if you have experience, if you're one of those crew chiefs that's not going anywhere, You normally allow a little bit more because you don't have to answer to Monty or Joey or whoever else is doing the grading in 2026. That's why playoff games is sometimes no blood, no foul, because Tony Brothers would prefer it that way, probably personally. And he's not going anywhere. He's been a referee for like 30 something years. His position is solidified until the day he retires. So how does OKC keep getting away with these things when they're clearly clear? Casey Moss is leading the league in steals and deflections. But part of the reason why is because he's permitted to defend with physicality that other teams are not. And because they are so consistent with it and they never take their foot off the gas, it is in a weird way rewarded by the officials. They have been trained the same way a dog knows to sit. You know why it knows how to sit? Because every time it did it as a puppy, you gave it a treat. For the Pace says, I had to endure 7 games of OKC. It was the most stressful basketball I've ever watched. And you're probably sitting there with like Tyrese Halliburton was a foul, man. He's got my whole shit. He's grabbing my whole shit. That's what they do. They grab your whole shit. But if they are being permitted to do so, why would OKC stop? And they are being permitted to do so not because the NBA is on some mission to platform Oklahoma City and they're rigging the games and they're sending orders down to the refs to make sure that OKC advances. Come on. Don't waste my time. They're permitting that shit because the Thunder set a standard that is so high physically that anytime something happens below it, even if it's just the smallest of differences, it gets permitted. And your favorite team's defense is not treated the same way because no one plays like OKC. The closest example is San Antonio. And now you're starting to see a lot of the same things where Castle, Fox, Wemby, collisions at the rim, hand checking on dribble penetrators, because those guys are so physical all the time, they too are beginning to reap the rewards and benefits of a Leslie enforced rulebook. Red Raider fan asks, Roberto, should I have a Dos Equis or a Modelo? If you're eating it with like chips and a snack, Modelo. If it's just by itself, Dos Equis. Modelo to me I like one Modelo, but then the taste gets left over in my mouth. Dos Equis has longer, I have more of a palate for Dos Equis by itself. Any other questions? Boy, did I do a lot of yapping today. 54 minutes of it. But yeah, we're starting to get close to, I'm going to need to make some predictions. And I don't think I've hit I'm in a little bit of a drought right now when it comes to predicting the NBA champion. It was so much easier in the 2010s when there was only 3 teams that were going to win it. It was going to be the Cavs, the Warriors, or like, was anyone really taking the Rockets seriously? As long as James Harden was on that team, no. Before that, it was either the Heat or the Spurs. No, I had spaghetti with meat sauce on Friday and no chases. I was quite disappointed. I was around all Friday night too. Every time I decide that, you know what, I'm going to stay home tonight because it feels like a police chase night. No chases. I step one foot out the door. I want to go play poker. I go on a date. Chase of the century. I mean, what chase? Why have the chase gods spited me so? Enough of these. You know the way I'm a boomer in a lot of ways, but especially when it comes to broken NBA records. We're just making things up because per Stoney in the chat, tonight's the night that SGA can tie Wilt for what I assume is consecutive 20-point games. These numbers have never been done before in NBA history, and it's like when Giannis goes for 34, 19, 12, and 3. No one's ever had 3 blocks to go with these numbers before. First time in NBA history. We don't need to turn every single box score into this has never been done before. Use round numbers, anniversary type numbers. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to dilute the celebration or comprehension of actual achievements. Like nobody gives a shit about a 50-point game anymore. No one gives a shit about triple doubles anymore. Statflation is through the roof because every time I log on at the top of my For You timeline, I see some news account talking about some random ass performance being one of the best in NBA history because this happened. Who the fuck thinks that way? Tell me when there's actually something worthy of celebrating. But yes, you're right. The shade thing, if you do something more than Wilt on or off the court, it is impressive. So to me, it's not the 20 points that makes it impressive. It's that Wilt. Wilt is just the final boss of any sort of individual accolade. It means you are so much ridiculously better than the rest of your competition that you got to the Wilt level. Because no one else is getting to the Wilt level. Maybe that's the true barometer of stats moving forward. Has Wilt done this? Should be the qualifying prerequisite to determine if we should celebrate something or say, didn't pass the Wilt line. Wilt's done it before. Wilt's done it before. No. If Wilt's done it before, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I'm not going to feel any certain way when Jokic passes Russ in triple doubles. The entire generation of statistics now has offensive efficiency unlike anything that's happened previously. It's faster. It's as fast as it's ever been. The pace of the game. And that just speaks to like the currency of some of these performances that star players pull off in triple doubles, just waning in influence and impact. Who was the number 1 overall pick? I would have taken Caleb Wilson before the hand fracture, but boy, does he run bad. First the broken left hand, and then dunking in practice before the damn Duke game, breaks his right thumb. Someone's going to get an absolute steal with Caleb Wilson at 4. I think he's got a much higher ceiling than Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer will be better at the start of their careers, but he's an early bloomer. I'd go Caleb, DeBonsa, Boozer, Peterson. Well, that's my point, Barbie. My point is to be moved again. Wilt has done the 100-point game. I would not be moved. The only realistic one is Kobe's 81. I'd say that's the one stat that has a secondary outlier where first place isn't as like breaking the record isn't as essential as getting to the one below it. Kobe's 81 is much more relatable and reflective of the current day game. But we've seen a couple of 70-point performances from Luka and Joel Embiid. It's more of a marvel of what is required for a player to get to 70. Like the game has to stay close. If it's a blowout, these guys come out in the fourth quarter and they don't get an opportunity to keep running it up. You also have to fade a team that's fearing embarrassment. It's just triple teaming a dude, and because we're down by 30, we're not going to let him shoot a single time for the rest of this game. You have to fade that. You have to have a player that plays enough minutes. He's going to have to play in the 40s, which is rare for an NBA regular season game. You're going to have to convince the training staff that this is acceptable. I'm tired from yapping so much. This Hawks sweatshirt thing's really got me cooking. You notice how the stream was flawless today compared to the previous one? I switched internets and I just prayed that this one would be better. That was my solution. And it worked. StreamYard is so inconsistent with what works and what doesn't that I'm just randomly choosing, all right, I'm going to go with this one for this show today. Do I ever get tired of the haters of the NBA? No, because, well, first of all, most people that hate the NBA, it's politically motivated. They don't like that the NBA stands for or claims to stand for certain values. So they're automatically one of them. I don't even understand why I would waste my time trying to reason with them and convince them otherwise, because it sounds like they've made up their mind already. Now, if you get into actual basketball heads, someone that supports college basketball but hates the NBA, I'd be interested to hear as of why. I prefer FIBA style play over, I would say FIBA, if I had my preferences of game flow and style, I would go FIBA rules, college rules, then NBA rules as my third place. Remember, college is officiated much differently. Travels are enforced differently. First half, second half, as opposed to 4 quarters. There's less TV timeouts. That's all. That's all I got for you guys. I think I'm out of gas. These shows have been serving as therapy for your boy. So I appreciate you sitting in here and asking me some questions, which inspire me to go longer on things that I'm certainly passionate about. So if you've somehow watched this from start to finish, God bless you. But relevant controversies and topics, being able to share this platform with you all is certainly appreciated, and it doesn't really work unless you are in there asking the questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to run out of ideas at some point. I can yap for an hour, but having some help is appreciated. So until next time, I can't think of a glaring NBA rule I'd change. Well, it's more about my preferences are based on game flow. I despise that the NBA has TV timeouts every 3 minutes. Go to some 9 minutes worth of commercials after. FIBA, there's really only one TV timeout per quarter. I like the unsportsmanlike conduct rule in FIBA. I also like goaltending during rebounds. You can knock the ball off the rim. I love that. Unsportsmanlike conduct. It could be for an intentional foul. It could be for pretty much any unethical basketball play is harshly enforced as an unsportsmanlike conduct. You get 2 of those, you're ejected. It's also free throws. Open to interpretation, but it all qualifies under the same rule in FIBA. You do something shady or floppy or baity or manipulating of the rule book, unsportsmanlike conduct. Appreciate you, Drew. MCC, GG's in the chat. Until next time, my friends, I will see you on the timeline. Deuces.